So,
Hi,
Steve, I have a question for you on kind of your, taking those early wins with, starting small and expanding over time. Would you say that that really improves adoption of the new systems?
I think that's a great question, Dylan. Yes, it does, because the change, you mustn't underestimate the change dimension to these projects, right? So you've got people who have been using legacy systems for quite some time, and how do you bring them, identify the impact to them, and bring them on this journey so that they use the new application with minimum disruption to the business? So this is it's a cracking thing, is that there is always a change management piece that's really important. So obviously, if you can break things into smaller bite-sized chunks, you minimize the disruption to the business, and you reduce that disruption, so that people come along that journey and are not faced with a huge change all at once. They gradually pick up the new system, um, with less disruption to the business. So I would definitely, that adoption piece and the change management piece is really, really important. Yeah, how you train people, how they cut over into the new systems, and how you get ownership. That's really important. They need to own those new processes and own that data. That's really important.
so that uh, sounds like you're saying that having small groups or small modules in the system reduces disruption, but also allows smaller groups to be using it longer and right away, right? And suppose if you go live all at one time, everybody's sort of a novice at some point, right? And then you're trying to run the business on that. Whereas here you can have smaller sections become experts over longer periods of time. Do you is that what you're seeing as well?
Yes, I am, but obviously there isn't one type of implementation project that always fits every client. So you have to look at their current as is landscape, and make an assessment as whether it can be phased or whether it has to be big bang. But yeah, the change piece is really important. And I think over the years, it's become more and more important in implementation methodologies. In the olden days, less time and effort was put on the change impact to the end users, and I think quite rightly that balance has changed now. So we are looking to say, well, how do we train the new users in the new system? How do we get them up to a competent level quickly? And how do we do that? What kind of training medium is right for the different audiences? Sometimes you've got workshop technicians who probably want to be in the workshop and being trained there. So you've got back office, you've got accounts payable, accounts receivable, treasury, all the financial management type activities. They probably want a different type of training, and they're probably more involved in the implementation at an earlier stage. So there's different training mediums more appropriate for different audiences, and I think that started to be recognized, and successful projects really look and make sure that they maximize the training delivery into those users and provide extended support once you've gone live. So there's a hypercare that's put in place that ensures that adequate support is there for those users as they become accustomed and proficient in the new system.
Dylan, have you seen that as well? I mean, like obviously we've worked with Steve on projects, and we're one part of that. What are some practical approaches that we've taken to help customers both, get up and running and trained, but also supported them after go live?
Yeah, I think, kind of along with what Steve said, we try to have a very similar approach, with our kind of documented implementation process that we have with all of those different phases. That kind of first phase of getting the customer connected and make sure everything's functioning with the connection to their IFS environment and their CAD, and then putting together that kind of base level of integration to do training with so we can be sure we're all speaking the same vocabulary, and as they're learning IFS as well, talk to the different components inside of IFS and really be able to outline the specifications and requirements that we need to do for that integration and kind of expand over time through that implementation. And then, post go live, especially if it's a new ERP deal, as they go live and continue to use it, they're going to find refinements that may need to happen. So more continuous improvement projects that can be done with CAD Talk to, enable more and more of those functions that are needed to mitigate any of that manual data work that could cause errors downstream.